Released in 6/6/66 for the Sega Dreamcast.
NANI?!
Oh, it was released for $99.99. Well, it's not my fault. Just look at this goddamn typo. Sonic is the devil's game. Don't even look at me. That's Sega's fault. So even if I got the dates wrong, I think you guys know what it's time. I've been getting so much love from the port versus port reviews that I couldn't have done another one. So today, we're going to be looking at a classic. You guys actually requested for this one, so let's get into it. One of the legendary titles that we all love is actually Sonic Adventure on the Dreamcast. Now the thing about this title, this was one of the first titles to be released on the Dreamcast, but it has such a fan following. So why not follow it with the Gamecube version? And put these two head to head, see which version you guys need to get. We're going to get into the other versions too, but you guys know what's up. It's time for a port versus port of Sonic Adventure on the Dreamcast as well as the Gamecube. Let's get going.
Sonic Team.
The legendary Sonic Adventure, released on the Dreamcast. This is actually the first 3D Sonic game we have seen in the wake of Sonic Extreme's cancellation for the Sega Saturn. Please rest in peace. It was released in 9/9/99, or September 9th, 1999, with the launch window right next to Soul Calibur, which was a new IP for the Dreamcast, as well as House of the Dead 2. Surprisingly, this game is a spectacle in itself, only taking 10 months to develop with a 60-man crew, but its development issues does show throughout the gameplay. Taking inspiration from hub titles such as Super Mario 64, Sonic Adventure does a similar thing where it has a hub such as Square Station, and you use it to traverse different levels around Sonic Adventure, each taking about 2 to 10 minutes to defeat, each level having a progressive amount of time to defeat. And to keep things a little bit more on the replay side, we have not one but 5 characters we could actually play. Although I will admit some of the characters are double dipping the same levels that you do see in Sonic's story, but they are fun in their own right and they do have quite interesting stories, as you will see. Some of them of course are giveaways such as Biggs the Cat, but other than that, they're decently solid stories that I think you guys will enjoy throughout the title. And at the end of the day, this game sold about 2 million copies around 2006, so it is rather surprising to see how such a title that only took 10 months to develop had so much love and press. But of course, the question you guys are wondering, which version of Sonic Adventure to get, whether on the Dreamcast or the Gamecube? We're going to find out today, and we're going to see what title you guys need to play. So now that we have a basic overall synopsis of the Dreamcast version, let's dive a little bit into it. Like mentioned before, the Dreamcast title took about 10 months to actually develop, complete, and ship, which is crazy in order to consider it, but because of that, there are going to be some glitches, some clipping, and some noticeable problems that you see when playing the game, so that's actually something to note as well. The nice thing, it does output in VGA quality in 480p, so that's a very nice touch. And of course, the Dreamcast title that really makes it is the Chao Garden. If you guys don't know what it is, it's almost like a Tamagotchi back in the day, where you could train your own Chao and kind of take care of him, and you could take him on this device called the VMU, which is your memory card for the Dreamcast, take him wherever you go. Of course, since the Gamecube does not have a VMU, that section was not included. However, the Chao Garden was changed, and we're going to talk about that a little bit later. So let's go a couple months later from 1999. There was actually a limited edition version of the game. If you guys don't know, this was a deal between some of the rental places around the US as well as Sega to release a limited edition promotional version. There is nothing special about this version at all, but limited quantities were made, so anyone who has this game is going to be having bragging rights for the rest of the year. However, Japan wasn't too happy with the Dreamcast version, so they opted to make Sonic Adventure International. This is a regional version and a re-release, with minor updates to improve the quality since it was a rush title, and add a couple things as well. There were different languages that were actually added for this version, and of course there are several bug changes to make it a little bit more of a cohesive experience. New camera angles were actually added for this section, such as the cutscene where Tails is piloting his airplane. You can see 2 different camera angles that are right here. More or less, like I mentioned, this is more of a revision, so if you want a little bit more of a concise and cohesive experience of Sonic Adventure on the original Dreamcast, this is probably the best version you can get, no doubt about it. Yo baby, you know what the DB standing for. This is Sonic Adventure DX, released on the GameCube June 17th of 2003. Here we are, folks. This is a little bit more of the port version of the game, and there are actually quite a couple things that we need to cover here. This is going to retain everything that the Dreamcast version has, and more. We're going to discuss the and more part. So let's touch a little bit with the graphics right here. We're going to go on to the character models. Of course, you guys would realize the character models are brand new, they are newer, and they have a higher polygon count. Of course, if you could tell on Sonic, if you could see on Sonic's hand, they are more separated fingers rather than blocky ones. And this goes for everyone too. Everyone has a new character model. Moving on from that, if you guys would expect, the Dreamcast version does have more drop frames than you would realize, but the GameCube version has a nice 60 frames per second, but of course there's a little bit of a fluctuation going on there, but more or less it does retain at a 60 FPS frame rate. One of the newest features they added here was a new free camera mode, and like the name implies, you're able to move the camera as you see fit in whichever direction you want to, instead of using the auto camera. Of course, you could toggle that if you'd like in the start menu. You guys are going to be seeing new texture models as well as new texture changes. Some of the levels have newer lighting as well as skyboxes, and some of the levels have just an overall beautiful quality. This is in 480p, 60 frames per second in component, mind you, but you can tell that there is a lot of changes just in the graphical engine. Moving to the gameplay, it is more or less the same as you would expect. Cutscenes are finally now skippable, so you don't have to see Sonic do that blah blah blah. And as mentioned before, the Chao Garden has actually had a little bit more of an upgrade. We do not have the VMU integration, but what we do have is a little bit more of the stat changes as retained in Sonic Adventure Battle 2. On top of this, we do have new mission modes and a nice little mini section. We do have some Game Gear titles that you can play on the Sonic Adventure disc. So if you Game Gear collectors want to get something like this, I think this is something you need to get. On top of that, there is also a new Metal Sonic story that they added for this. So if you really put it all in hindsight, there's so much that the Sonic team has added. The list goes on and on and on when it comes to the changes for Sonic Adventure DX, but if you guys want to see a full list of what they have changed, check out the Sonic Wiki. It has a full synopsis of everything that has changed in as much detail as you want, so I would highly advise to check that out. And you may be wondering, Rico, why aren't you talking about the digital ports? And I'm going to touch upon this, so don't even trip, boys. There are PSN, Xbox Live, and Steam versions of this game. This is almost a direct port of the GameCube version, so there have been no changes. There's nothing that's actually changed in this version. Once you buy it, it's going to be the exact same thing as the GameCube version, except it's a lot more easily accessible on your console as well as your PC. If you want something that's easier to access than a Dreamcast or GameCube, that might actually be your version to choose as well. Next, we're going to get into the price point, and we're going to list everything that you're able to get, starting with the original Dreamcast version. From 18 to 24 sold, you are able to buy this copy for the Dreamcast, with the international version going for at least 10 to maybe 15, maybe 20 if you really want to push it. Of course, the limited edition one is going to go about $500 to $600, so your mileage will absolutely vary with that for you collectors. Now, Sonic DX version for the GameCube is going to probably run you about $8 to $10 for a physical copy. If you're looking for a digital, you'll probably look around 8 to 10 as well, around the same price. So whatever you choose is probably going to be the best version. My personal preference, I would say, probably the GameCube, because I would actually prefer to play on original hardware and to play the best version possible. But if you want to go Dreamcast, International is the best way to go. So lastly, going into one of my favorite parts of every port versus port, we're going to get into the comparison. Please keep in mind this is open to your interpretation, what you think is the better version. This is why I put these comparisons, so keep your eyes, ears, and all of your senses open. I'm going to let this ride out with my outro, so take a little gander, crack a little beer, and let's get going.
Get him!
For a title that has been about, what, around like 20 years or something like that, we've actually have quite a bit of info, but I hope you guys have really enjoyed that video. It was very nice to put together. I had a great time, and especially just letting you know Sonic Adventure is a pretty cool title. I have my personal gripes with it, but I think it's great to go into see what version you guys like, and always do port comparison. If you guys are interested, I really hope you are. Check out my Twitter. You can always check me out, KELPHELPOG. If you also like some of my personal Twitch streams, go to Kelphelp on Twitch. I'm streaming there all the time. You can find out my schedule there and what game I'm actually streaming, so you guys would actually love absolutely what I'm doing. So thank you guys so much. I cannot appreciate all your love and support through all of these months that I've been doing. I apologize for not doing too many videos. I'm going to keep you guys updated what's going on, but I'll definitely check you guys later.